I speak to you in the name of the one holy and living God. How many times do you walk into a wall before you turn around and look for a doorway? If you are me, the answer would be 3 at least. There's the first time. Ouch, I didn't know that door was there, that wall was there. The second time, why is this wall still here? And the third time, all right, I give up. This is not working. I better turn around and find a doorway. Perhaps this is why 3 times Peter bumps into his God-given sheet full of 4-footed animals and beasts of prey, reptiles and birds of the air before he turns around and finds a doorway into a new reality. A new reality in which nothing is profane. Not beasts of prey or reptiles, not lepers or Gentiles. Because what God has made clean, we should not call profane. There is no distinction between us and them. But this new reality is as hard to swallow as a reptile. No wonder Peter bumps into it 3 times. You know, even when we intellectually agree that God, whatever God has made, we must not call profane, still, we dig our heels into dirt when the Spirit instructs us to go with Peter and a group of strangers and foreigners and people who are not like us and make no distinction between us. Immediately, I walk into another wall as my mind skips somersaults around the strangers. Are they taller or smaller? Are they trustworthy or fraudulent? Are they deserving or corrupt? Are they conservative or liberal? Are they citizens or aliens? And even when I manage to zipper my mouth and conceal my contempt, you know what I'm talking about. Even then, my mind leaps and it recoils. And with Peter, I say, by no means, Lord, I do not associate with those people. And then that windy Spirit breathes the breath of God on the tall and the small, on the trustworthy and the fraudulent, on the deserving and corrupt, on the conservative and the liberal, on the citizens and the aliens. And smack, there's that wall again. Nothing and no one is left out. Nothing and no one is unworthy. Nothing and no one is profane. Breathing the breath of God on Jews and Gentiles, male and female, slave and free, straight and gay, old and young, righteous and sinner, conservative and liberal and citizen and alien, and every one of the motley crew that we call humankind. It seems the Spirit of God has no preference. Everything that lives and breathes comes to life by the one breath of the one God. Everything and everyone is connected in the one breath. No one and nothing is profane. Now, be assured, this is not carte blanche, anything goes, get out of jail free. The demand for value and respect of every breathing being is ontological. What do I mean by that? It has to do with the fundamental nature of our being, the fundamental goodness and value of each and every being. This is the essence of our existence. This is what we all participate in as breathing beings. So let me ask you this. How do we know we are alive? How do you know you're alive? My father used to say, as long as I could see my breath in the mirror, right? Looks like I'm still here. A body without a breath of the Spirit is not alive. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone die or a dead body? What's missing? They are with us until their last breath. And on the other side of that equation, at birth, what does everybody wait for? That first breath, when this being becomes alive. This ontological reality of our being is distinct from our individual, particular behavioral reality. Who we are, that we are, is fundamentally different than everything we do or don't do. Now, I experienced this in spades while designing and overseeing a treatment program for Native American youth between the ages of 13 and 22 who were adjudicated for sex offenses. Now, it did not take me very long to recognize several things. The offending behavior of these boys was actually a recapitulation of the offending behavior that had been exercised against them. Number one. And these boys, almost uniformly, were thought of as only their behavior, consistently treated as if they were only their offensive behavior. So not only were they labeled sex offenders, but they also labeled themselves as damaged goods because they had been offended against, people of no ontological value. Consequently, with no hope. So 4 dimensions for a treatment program became apparent. In their own time and in their own way, each of the participants had to admit their offending behavior out loud to their program group. And then they had to receive the feedback from the peers and the staff, that not only was their behavior utterly, absolutely inappropriate, but also they were utterly and absolutely valuable. Beings of fundamental worth. And the tipping point in the treatment program and the healing was when a participant could actually affirm, you know, what I did was wrong. What my grandfather or the person across the street did to me was wrong. And, this is one of those important ands, and I am a good person. I deserve to treat myself and others with respect. And when they were able to rise to this transformed attitude or perspective, then the process of restoring them to relationship and participation with their family and community could proceed. It was abundantly clear to me that until and unless these boys could identify themselves as something more than their behavior or what had been done to them, they were not healed. The very nature of our existence demands value and respect for our essential being. What God has made clean, we must not call profane. We must not dishonor, disparage, disgrace, or make distinctions between us and others. Rather, we are meant to appreciate, affirm, and acclaim and approve the fundamental value of every breathing being, beginning with ourselves. I believe this is why Jesus instructs us, love your neighbor as yourself. Because until we insist on our own fundamental goodness and value, we cannot possibly recognize and affirm it in others. A woman whom I will call Espera was born in San Pedro Sula in Honduras, a city distinguished as being the murder capital of the world. And Espera's husband was murdered. She has 2 sons and a babe in arms. Her eldest son, 13 years old, is approached by the cartel. They're enticing him with drugs to earn money to help his desperate mother. Espera, knowing that her son would be swept into this web of violence and addiction, she starts walking north from San Pedro, hoping against hope that she will be able to find asylum in the United States. Along the way, she meets other people doing the same thing and experiences a minimal sense of safety as together they evade threats and they stumble forward, barely surviving. And then, in a heart-wrenching moment, Espera does the unthinkable. She says goodbye to her 2 sons and sends them across the US border. She has broken her heart. She has broken the law, and she has told her sons to break the law. So in legal terms, it is just to condemn Espera's behavior. But how are we to respond to the ontological terms presented to us in Peter's 3 times encounter with the Spirit of God? Do not make distinction between them and us. I offer no simple answer to this dilemma. There are laws devised by humankind and laws delivered by the Spirit of God. Both have value. Both have their place. This is what I believe. I believe it is incumbent upon each of us to hold these laws together, to draw our heads into our hearts and listen deeply for the sure and certain direction of that windy Spirit of God. Because you see, with Peter, we must ask ourselves, who am I that I could hinder God? Who am I that I could hinder God? Dear people of God, it is time for us to stop walking into walls. It is time for us to turn around, find a doorway, and step bravely and boldly into a new reality in which nothing and no one is profane, not beasts of prey, nor reptiles, nor conservatives, nor liberals, nor citizens, nor aliens. Because there is to be no distinction between us and them. And who are we to think that we could hinder God? Amen.